Hi, so this video is all about getting started with iMovie. I started using iMovie about a year ago. As you'll know, if you're starting out on YouTube is a huge learning curve. There's so many things you have to learn how to do. You do them very badly to start off with. I'm still doing them very badly now. But one of the things you have to get to grips with is video editing. And the easiest way to start is iMovie. And one of the advantages of starting with iMovie is it makes it very easy to start, but also it gets you in the habit of using a video editor with just the simple aspects of that, so that when you move on to one of the other more advanced editors, when you want to do more advanced things, it's easy to pick those up. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to get started with iMovie, the key things you need to know, so that by the end of this video, you'll be able to pick up your first piece of filming and edit it to put up on YouTube. So let's get started. I'm going to open up my laptop. So as you can see, I've opened iMovie here and I've got a project open. So let's just have a look around this screen. So over here we have project media. So this is where we can see all the things that are in iMovie and available through iMovie. The key area though is this one here. So here is where you move all your files into this area. These are all the things that you're going to use to create your movie. So as you can see, I've got my A roll here. So this here is about 30 minutes of uncut video of one of my videos that we're going to edit, and then we'll add in here from our files other things like music, like sound effects, B-rolls, maybe titles and so on. If we look above this area here, we've got a menu. Audio and video are iMovie library things that you can use. I don't tend to use those. Then you've got titles, so these are all the title effects that are available in iMovie that you can use straight away in your video. Backgrounds, a small selection of backgrounds, and then transitions. So this is where you want to transition from one scene to another. So we'll come back to these, but the main ones we use are My Media, then we'll use titles quite a lot, and transitions. Down here is your timeline. This is where you drag clips down and you have a main line for your A-roll, which goes in here. Then above that, in iMovie, you can only have 2 lines of video. So you have your main line, and then you have above that, you'll put your B-roll. And then you also have down here a music line where you put your background music, and that will stay there, whatever you do, stay in place. And then you can also add other clips of music or sound effects or whatever, and you can layer those on top. Here there's some controls, various things you can do, and we'll go through those in detail. And then here this slider here is very useful, because that will allow you to expand and contract the timeline that you've got here, so you can quickly move around it. So the first thing probably to think about is getting your files together. And I am absolutely hopeless when it comes to my files. I tend to just put them in downloads, download them, and then move them from here straight into iMovie. Just to show you how easy it is to move things, all you need to do is literally grab the file from your Finder menu and just pull it over and drop it. When you come on here, you can click on the file you want, and then you just drag it down onto the timeline. Or if you don't want to do that, you can, when you're clicked on it, see this plus button here, you just press plus and it'll drag it down onto the timeline. And that has taken the whole of this file, the whole of this 27.5 minutes, and put it onto the timeline here. If you only wanted some of that, if you knew that you didn't want half of it or the end bit or whatever, then when you're clicked on it, you can see these handles at either end. You can just click, hold, and move those handles in, and then you can then just grab that and pull that down, and it'll only take that part of the clip down. And that's very useful when it comes to sound effects or clips that you want to use for B-roll. You can just select a part of the clip to bring it down before you bring it down. Anyway, we want the whole of it, so we've brought it all down now. So you can see it here, it's 27 minutes. It's going to be very difficult to edit that in that tiny space. So we just go up here and we can expand it using these little, this slider here. Alternatively, you can press Control plus, Command plus, Command plus or Command minus. Change how zoomed in or zoomed out you are on the clip. Okay, so we've got your clip into iMovie. We've moved it down to the A-roll line here, and we're going to expand a bit using Command plus, just so that we can get in there and see what's going on. Okay, the first thing to do when we edit, oh dear, not have that picture in mind. Let's just have something there. So the first thing we do, because we've got the whole clip together and we don't want to dive into color correction and sound correction at any length at this point in learning about video editing. We just want it to be pretty good. And the easiest way to do that in iMovie is to get your clip as a whole before you've started cutting it, and come up here to this magic wand, which automatically improves, as it says there, the video and audio quality of the selected clip. So we selected this clip, it's surrounded in yellow, and we're just going to click on that, and that will enhance the audio and video quality of the whole clip. Now you've done that once, you don't have to do that again, and that's very helpful. So we've done that, and now the first job, the first run through the clip, is to get rid of all the bits you don't want. So when we go through it, that's the first thing we do. And we can go down here, and as we go on the line, you can see that we've got the bar coming up and down here, showing you exactly where you are. And as you go through this, you can see on the in the top right-hand corner, you can see in full screen exactly what you can see as you rub through. And I'm sorry for that exposure of my stomach there, but you can go through and you can see that none of that is any use whatsoever. So we're going to go through there, we're going to get all the way through here, pull the line over. Do that with two fingers on your trackpad. You just can move the whole timeline over. We're going to get see how long it took me to get settled, and that's probably still not settled. Oh my goodness. And then if you saw there, I clapped my hands, which means I was starting again. If you use that, you can use that. You can see on the timeline here, I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I can expand that. Yeah, there you go. You see that, those three peaks there, short peaks, that's where I clap my hand 3 times. So you can see on the timeline those 3 peaks, and you can also see as I go through it, see me clapping my hands. So you can see that everything, the bit before that was a bit of an outtake. I was going to start again. So I certainly wouldn't want the stuff up till then. You can see I was messing about, and I may have said something, but then I clapped my hands 3 times to say that was an outtake. So I can put my head there, and then this is the first thing we've got to do. We've got to get rid of all that introduction bit, which is 2.5 minutes of me messing about. And you do that by cutting and then deleting that initial section. And the way to do that, you put the timeline where you want it. The quickest way is to press Command B. And that will cut and split the segment there. You can see that that is now split and it's highlighted. So all that highlighted bit we want to get rid of. So now we just press the delete key or the backspace key on the Mac. And that's all gone now. And now we're going to start again. can start from here. We can start to slide through. Now you might not be able to hear, but as I slide through, I can hear myself speaking in this video. And I tend to use the sound, not just the what I can see, to edit. And then what I also try and do is cut when just before I look away from the camera. So I come up with a sentence or two, looked at the camera, and then at the end of that, I start to look away. And you can see down here on the timeline again, if you look, here, you can see it that after that, then I've stopped speaking here, and then there's some dead air there. So after this bit of speaking there, I place my head there, and then I can cut it with Command B. Now I'm going to keep that bit, and then I'm going to move through here till I get to the next bit that I'm actually saying something of any value. And there you go, see? So I've gone from doing nothing, a short phrase here, and then I look away again. So before that, I want to cut. So again, you can look here. I'm going to find the right button in a minute. There we go. You can look here, you see where I'm just preparing to speak. You can see that little dip there, and then I start speaking. So I want to place the head there just before I start speaking. I'm going to click there to put the timeline at that point. And I'm going to press Command B to cut it. Now all this bit here again is dead air. So I'm going to click on that. I've got the yellow circle around it, and I'm going to delete that. So now I go from here to there. And then again I'm going to cut before I look away from the camera. I'm going to run it. You can see I've just looked away. So now you can use the arrow keys. If you use the back arrow key, every time you press the back arrow key, that's one frame. So that I've gone back 3 frames and I'm still looking at the camera. At that point, I'm going to place the. Do that again. At that point, I've got the line on the screen where I want it, and so now I'm going to press Control B to cut it again. Now I've got that bit there, and then go to the next bit where I'm talking. And then I'm going to just go again to the spot just before I start talking. There. Click on it, press Command B, get rid of that bit in the middle. So now I go from. In this video, I'm going to show you one simple method that will enable you to smash your goals wherever they are. Because there is a secret to achieving your goals. And in this video, I made 2. Right. So you can see I've made 2 cuts here, and they're called hard cuts. You've just gone from one to the next. And you probably didn't even, if you were watching that video, you probably wouldn't even notice that there was a cut, or you wouldn't really think about the cut. And that's called a hard cut. And that's what we want to do all the way through our video to get rid of mistakes, gaps. What you also might want to do at the start and the end of your video is add in a fade in and a fade out. So you want a fade to black, that's what I tend to use, a fade to black at the start and a fade to black at the end. So now it's going to come from black, fade in, and then right at the end it's going to fade out to black. And that's your first pass through the video. Once you've done that, the next thing to do is to add in any titles or B-roll. So let's just go back to our media. And just to give you an example of how to add B-roll, I've got this picture here that we can then just grab and put in here somewhere. So we're going to put it here. And when we drag it in, you can see that as soon as we get to that point, the top timeline is always the one that takes over. You can see that it's there, it lasts for a few seconds, and then it goes back. Now you can move that around. Obviously you can pick it up, move it around wherever you want. You can extend it, so you can make it last as long as you want. And in this case it's a picture, so it'll just sit there. Now if we click on it, we can see what it's doing. So at the moment it's in, if you look up here, it says cutaway. And that's what we're in. We're in this situation called cutaway. And it means that we've gone from the A roll straight to the B roll. And that's mainly what you will want generally. We don't have a fade in or fade out, as you can see here. But we can create some effects up here with it. So if we click on the video overlay settings, that's what we've got. This is the crop setting, and at the moment it's set to Ken Burns. So with any picture, if you just left it there, if you just had it as fit, let's just reset it as fit. And if we go through, you can see that it just sits there all the way along, doesn't change, it's just a static picture. And the static pictures are not very interesting to see, so if you go back to the crop icon and we move it to Ken Burns, what the Ken Burns effect is you can see these two boxes, one's labelled start and one's labelled end, and what happens is the shot pans from this start point to wherever the end point is set. So if I start it out here, let's say, and I end it just to make it really exaggerate the effect, end it over here, and I reset it to that, you'll see that what happens is you start here with the picture on a wide angle, and then over time you kind of zooming in to this point at the end. Now, you don't need it as extreme as that. I'm just showing you an extreme version of what you can do, but it just shows a little bit of movement, and that's quite a useful thing when you have a picture, just so it's not entirely static. And you can change whether it zooms in or zooms out, and where it zooms into or out to. So it's quite a useful effect when you're using static pictures. But you do need to think about this, because when you're doing other things, and you're using a video there, for example, you probably don't want the Ken Burns effect on. So that's what we do with our B-roll. We just pop it up there, and we can put some effects on it. Coming back here then, I'm going to reduce this down in size. There we go. And I'm just going to concentrate on this section here. And right, and I talk about the secret to achieving your goals, okay? So let's add in some titles. So we've got a transition at the start and the end. We've got a piece of B-roll. And the other kind of key thing you're going to want to do is add in some titles. So we go to the title menu, and then if you roll over these, you can see what effect you get from the title. So you can have title up here, you can have a little title here, you have titles that come in like that, or like dissolve out, there or there. And then some various different ones. This one kind of expands in, as does that one. This one, yeah, kind of moves in like that. This one kind of pops in and then kind of disappears. So I quite like that one. Let's grab that one. We'll use this one and we'll grab that and we'll pull it down here and we'll pop it in here. And then once it's down, you can then edit the words used in the title. So you just go up here, click on the words, decide what you want to put in here. So I think that we're going to do secret to achieving your goals. Pop that in there, and then when we go over it, we go through the timeline, you've got that effect, and then comes in and then zooms out, and then on that you can then change when it starts. So you might want to start it a bit earlier. You want to start it with the words, so secret to achieving your goals, but then you might want to leave it on screen a bit longer, so you can pull it out. So leave it on the screen and then disappear a bit later if that's what you want to do. And that's the easiest way to use titles. There'll be lots of other effects you want to achieve that frankly you can't achieve directly with iMovie, but these are great effects to start off with. Once you're used to doing this, then you can easily use Keynote to supplement what you're doing in iMovie. So another free program that comes with the Mac. You can set up a few documents in Keynote that you can then pull across to iMovie really easily to do some really fancy effects with your titles and with diagrams, all sorts of things to overlay. And we'll come on to those in other videos. But this is the easiest thing to do to get started with iMovie. So we've got our transition in, we've got our transition out, we've got an overlay for a picture in your B-roll, we've got an overlay for your title, and the title just can go over this as well. It doesn't. You can have those two things together. So if you wanted your title to be with your B-roll, you can just put it there and it'll go over your B-roll. We don't want it there, we want it here. So we've covered those things. The other two areas that are really important to keep in mind when you're first using iMovie is to add some music and then add some sound effects. So I'm going to just take a minute, grab some music and some sound effects, and then we'll look at how to add those two. Okay, so I use pixabay.com, you can see it here, Pixabay, for my images, my music, my sound effects. And I use it because it's free and I can use it on YouTube at no cost and with no worries about infringement. You don't have the same extent of all these things as you do on platforms you pay for, but it's good enough to start off with. You can get some good music, you can get good sound effects and good visuals as well. So this is what I use. When I find them, you then upload them to your files and then move the files across to iMovie. Okay, so here we are in iMovie. I've got my files open. You can see I've got my assets, my YouTube assets open here, and I'm on music. So I've got a number of things that I've already downloaded. This one, just bung it in there. I'm also going to grab this one, Piano Classical, there we go. So we've got two music tracks in there, and then I'm going to go down, find some sound effects, and I'm going to grab the bubble sound, and I'm going to grab the mouse click, and I'm also going to grab the mechanical keyboard sound. Right, so we've got some sound effects and we've got some music, and if you scrub over them, if you can hear that, you can you can hear the sound as you go over it. So that's the mechanical keyboard. This is a mouse click. This is a bubble. So we're going to take this piece of music and we're going to pull it down here and put it right at the bottom in this music track here. And so there it is. And then we're going to grab this line and we're going to turn it right the way down, if we can. Grab the line and we're going to turn it right the way down so it's really background. We want it at like 5% or something, because you only want it, you don't really want it to be noticeable. You want it to be just noticeable in the background. Okay, so we've got that, that's in there. Let me just make this a bit smaller. And then you can see it ends there. So we now need another track. Right, so we're going to grab that, and we're going to move it down here. There we go. We've got this one on as well now. And the other thing just to remember when we've got background music, I'm just going to expand this track a little bit. So when we've got background music, we want to fade it in and fade it out. So we can grab this little button here. See that little button there? If we click on that button, we can pull it in, and that will fade the music in. It'll just slowly fade up, and then we do the same at the end to fade it out. We just want to click on that button, fade it out, and then grab the next one, pull it so it's right next to it, starts there, but then fade it in, fade that one in as well. Now you can cut these tracks, just as you can cut the main timeline, you can cut these tracks, so you might want to cut it so that it ends at a particular point. When you finish talking about a particular subject, you might want to then click, you want to have the yellow on the track you're cutting, then you Command B, you can get rid of this last bit and then fade that out, perhaps. So that's at the end of the point you wanted to make, and then you can start another point with a new piece of music and just pull that up there, put it in there. And then the other thing you'll need, or you'll want to use, is some sound effects that go with the visuals. So if you're moving into some B-roll, so you want to show some sound, you have to have some sound that goes with with what you're doing. So as this comes up, perhaps we want a bubble sound for that popping up on the screen. So we can put our head there, and then we can click on here, reduce this down so that we only have the bubble sound and not time before, and then we just grab that reduced bit and put it down here, and we can set it to go wherever we want. So we click it there, and you'll see it's here, it's come down below in the music section. So if we click here, you can see there's the bubble sound as that comes on, and you can move it around if you want to so that it's the right time. And then you could have another sound at the end when you go back to the main screen. You grab the same bubble sound, put it down, put it here at the end, and then you've got a bubble in and a bubble out. So you can see them down here. You can hear them as they go. I don't know if you can hear that on the screen, but bubbles in and bubbles out. And those are really the main things to do with iMovie to get you going. You can use your transitions, you can transition in. I wouldn't bother with transitions in between sections. They tend to be distracting. If you want to have a transition, then the best transition to use between scenes really is just a cross dissolve, where you dissolve from one, and this is what is mainly used in films, where you dissolve from one picture to the next. So you just pull that one down and put it here. So you've got a dissolve from black to fade in, and the same to fade out. We've got our B-roll we can put up here, change the length and so on. We've got our dissolve between frames if we want that. We've got our titles, we've got our music down here, we've got our sound effects. And then at the end, you just fade out. Let me just reduce this down. So at the end, you can just fade out to black again, and you have your music fade down before that. That's the best way to do it. So once you've done all that, the final thing to do is export it to a file that's then ready for you to upload to YouTube. And the way to export is to come over here onto the right-hand side, top right-hand side. You can see this share button here at the top. You just click on that. Don't use any of these other things. You want export file. Click on export file, and then you need to work out what you're exporting. So change the video description to whatever it is you want it to be called. Resolution, I've got it at 1080p. That's probably what you want mainly for YouTube, that or higher. Quality, I've got it as higher. You don't want it as best. High is fine. And compress, you want faster compression is fine as well for YouTube. So you can see it's 24 minutes at the moment, 3.72 gigabytes of required for storage. So then you just click next, put in what you want to save it as and where you want to save it, and then press save. And there you are. It'll take a little while for it to render, and then it'll be in your files, and you go to YouTube and upload it as you would using YouTube. And that's it. That's a straightforward tutorial on everything you need to know to start using iMovie